Everyone, Serenity here. I want to welcome you back to Down Home Crypto. Now, in this episode of Zero to Hero, we're going to continue our journey into the model of tokenomics. This specific piece is about liquidity. What is that? Well, stay tuned and I'll tell you. First, if you would, please do me a huge favor. Take a moment, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. But most importantly, as always, please, if you're finding this information helpful or entertaining, go out and share with a friend, a coworker, a family member. Let them know there is a source of information that's going to walk them step by step through the concept of crypto, and we're going to remove the mystery. And they don't have to be rich or tech savvy or college educated. They simply have to have the desire to change their life and a courage to follow that dream. And they too can join us on this great crypto adventure. So without further ado, let's go learn about liquidity pools. Now, liquidity pool sounds really scary, but I promise it's not. Anytime you buy or sell a token on an exchange or something like that, you're going to operate within a liquidity pool. Now, liquidity pool is a really fancy name for saying a container that holds an equal amount of tokens and dollars. But that equal amount is based on the value of the token, okay? That's really, really important, and it must always equal. There has to be a 50-50 split in that container. You can never have more value of tokens than dollars or vice versa. Anytime you do, that's going to change the entire parameter, and therefore you have to do your calculations for the token price. And as we talked about in market cap, so this is one of those key components that really set the token price out there, okay? So let's look at the diagram here. So it says the token price balances the liquidity pool. So if we take this like a seesaw, okay? Right in the middle here at the fulcrum, that's your token price. One token equals $1. Now that always has to balance your liquidity pool. So that's why it says right here, must balance. That's a law, that's a rule, it has to happen that way. Now to come up with the token price, it's a really simple formula. You take the amount of dollars in the liquidity pool, divide that by the number of tokens in the liquidity pool, and that's going to give you the price per token in the liquidity pool. So in this example, we have $10,000 on this side, and we have 10,000 tokens on this side. So we go 10,000 divided by 10,000 means that the price per token is $1 per token. And that's why it's right here in the center, and that's what keeps it balanced, okay? That's all a liquidity pool is. It's a container with an even amount of dollars and tokens based on their value. Okay, really important. Now, what happens when this gets off balance? So for instance, what if somebody comes in and they buy $1,000 worth of tokens at $1 per token? Well, let's see what happens to the scale. So if you put $1,000 into the liquidity pool and you take 1,000 tokens out of the liquidity pool, now it is off balance, okay? So obviously this token price doesn't work anymore. Like a seesaw, you put too much weight on one side, it's going to tip. We have to get this back to balanced. So how do we do that? It's actually real easy. So we go back to our initial formula, but the values have changed. So now we have $11,000 divided by 9,000 tokens, which gives us a token price of $1.21 per token. Now, when we calculate that out, we notice our balance price has moved over here to accommodate for $1.21. And just like a seesaw, we move that fulcrum over and that gets it back to balanced, just like in the image here. So you can put a bigger value on one side and a smaller one on the other. And as long as you move that center fulcrum to compensate, it will stay balanced. So now our liquidity pool has less tokens and more dollars in it. Okay, pretty simple. What happens if somebody sells tokens back into the liquidity pool to take money out? Let's go find out how that's going to work. So let's say that same person comes back and they sell 1,000 tokens back into the liquidity pool at $1.21 per token. Because as we know right here, after the last exchange, it changed the token price. So now everything after this moment in time runs on this new token price. So in this case, they put 1,000 tokens back in, making it 10,000 tokens, and they take out $1,210 because that was the value. 1,000 tokens times the $1.21 is 1,210, which means we end up with less dollars than we have tokens now. So now we're off balance the other way. Okay, so once again, we have to go back to our formula. So we take the $9,790 divided by the 10,000 tokens, gives us a token value of $0.979 per token. So now the center point has moved over towards the token side to get it back to balance. And that's all a liquidity pool does. It essentially is an exchange to take dollars to coins and coins to dollars, back and forth. So we're going to back up time to the last video talking about market cap here. And in the calculations, it said price per token. Well, now we know the price per token is based on the liquidity pool. But there's a very critical piece of information I want to share with you. Because what happens if that liquidity pool is much bigger? Instead of this little guy, it's now this guy. What that's going to do is what we call the depth of the liquidity pool, or essentially how much is in it. The more that's in that liquidity pool, the less likely it is to tip over, okay? Because as we noticed with that small liquidity pool of $10,000, it didn't take much to get that thing to teeter and drop value of the coin that's in there, or somebody to pull out a ton of profit. A deeper liquidity pool takes a lot more to move it one way or another. So if you're getting into a project at the very, very, very beginning and you're really trying to get a huge profit, great. First in, first out almost always makes a profit. But if you're looking for a more stable, more trusting protocol to get into, a deeper, larger liquidity pool is going to give you a more solid foundation without the fear of all of a sudden waking up and those tokens you had worth $1,000 yesterday are now worth 50 cents. Yeah, that's what's going to happen with a small liquidity pool versus a big one. So I hope by now you've got a pretty good understanding about a liquidity pool and how it works with value in, value out. But I'm going to leave you with one curveball just to really push you over the edge, make sure you got a good grasp of it. In the last video, we talked about burning a token, okay? Here's how that would work essentially. If somebody were to take their dollar and put it in a liquidity pool, take out their particular tokens, now those tokens have the value based on this liquidity pool, right? But if these tokens get sent to a dead wallet or burnt, as we call them, then all the value that those things were worth are actually back in the liquidity pool because these can never come back in to take cash out. So by burning the token, essentially, you're increasing the value of liquidity pool by creating a scarcity of the token itself. So if you permanently reduce the token supply, then you technically increase the value of what tokens still exist, okay? So that is where the burning mechanic comes into play in a liquidity pool. So I want to thank you so very much for your time, and I hope this has been helpful. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And until next time, have a great night.